Very warm welcome to you all. I'm going to mute you.
What?
What have you muted for?
All right, hang on then.
Yeah.
I'm getting all excited. How do I mute? Yes, all. There you are. Right. Okay, very warm welcome to you all. All the best people have grabbed all the best seats, and everybody else will have to take what comes. A very warm welcome to Julian, who's going to talk to us about life on the open waves. I have a PowerPoint for him, and so I'll be showing you those slides in just a moment. Julian, what you need to do now is to unmute your mic, please. It's at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, I've done that.
Done that, well done. Right, I'm now
going... Mute or it's got unmute?
Yeah, you need to unmute yourself. Julian, you still need to unmute, please. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Hello, Mike. Let him just join and then I can mute him. I don't want to mute him while he's trying to join with audio.
All right.
Hi, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
You need to, I'm going to mute your mic. Well done, Mike, you've done it. All right, sharing screen now. No.
Oh, it's so complicated, isn't it?
Well, not really. No. It's okay.
It is for me, for my tiny brain. Ah.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okie dokie. Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for coming to see me and hear my reminiscing about my naughty past and what I've got up to in the old days. I hope you've got your seasick tablets with you and you don't get feeling a bit queasy. It's life on the ocean wave, but I wouldn't say more. It's more reminiscent of an old sea dog. That's what it is, really. As you can see on the screen, is my first. This is the first ship I ever went on, which is the British Kiwi, and we went from Cardiff down to the Gulf to pick up some oil. The only interesting thing about that was that we went through the Suez Canal, and I ended up having tea in the desert with some Arabs. That's quite unusual, I suppose. Going through the Suez Canal was very interesting, very nice.
Like the early days.
And that was in the early days. Apart from that, there wasn't much going on. One of the nastiest jobs on that ship, though, was actually going down into the tanks and cleaning the bilges. We'd be sent down into the tanks of these massive tanks to clean out the bilges of the sludge from the oil with buckets and mops in the heat. You know, it's 49, 50 degrees down there, sweating like hell, trying to get everything clean, ready for the next cargo. But apart from that, it is my first trip, and obviously very exciting for the first time to go out and see that. What's that? How old was I then? I don't know. 20 something, I think it was. 20-ish. Yeah. Anyway, after that, my next trip after that was on the Queen Mary, which was a totally different ball game altogether. That was a very interesting ship to be on. Lots of different things going on there that you might not know about. There was a big gambling element amongst the crew on that ship. And a lot of people were signing on the ship as stewards and then paying other people on the ship to do their jobs so that they could concentrate on the gambling. And some of the tables there, you couldn't sit down with less than £10,000 in your pocket. Quite an incredible situation on that ship. So a lot of people had second jobs on the ship there, and they wouldn't even touch their wages because they were getting paid for the gamblers, by the gamblers. Wasn't that exciting? Was that interesting? You know, of course, you can't say anything because you're mute, isn't it? So I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not getting any oohs, ahs, or anything like that.
You get it from me.
I'm getting from Maria, who's sitting here. Right, lots of interesting people you meet on these ships. One person in particular was an Irish pig farmer who used to sign on the ship. He used to arrive on the ship dressed in a bowler hat, a long black overcoat, and a briefcase. And he was one of the crew. But his passion was for flying, and he just passed his flying test, and he had his pilot's license. So he invited me to go with him and fly in New York. So when we got to New York, we got up to the airport there, and we took off in this little tiny airplane, and I was his first ever passenger, and we flew all around New York. That was an incredible, incredible thing to do. Amazing. Anyway, he was a pig farmer. So you do meet a lot of different and interesting people on these ships. What else did happen on that ship? Oh yeah, there was the Pig and Whistle, which is the crew bar down in the bowels of the ship. It's a massive area where they've got a crew bar set up, and it's called the Pig and Whistle. And there, it was constantly flowing with booze, 24 hours a day down there. And very often passengers would come down there because it was more fun down there than it was up in the posh surroundings upstairs. We even had Dylan Thomas come down at one point, joining in with the crew and getting plastered, you know. So it was quite something. The next ship after that is the Queen Elizabeth. And I had a bit of promotion on that ship. I was promoted to be one of the watchkeepers. And if you look on the fore end there, you can see the mast. Up halfway up the mast there, you see a little box. That was my office. And that is where I used to spend my 2 hours twice a day up there looking out for other ships and warning the people on the bridge if there was anything coming, that sort of thing. Radar was in use those days, but for some unknown reason, they still wanted a watchkeeper up there. And I used to spend, as I say, 2 hours a day up there looking for ships. But the point is, it was very high up there. You can imagine how far it is from the water. It's about 200 feet, maybe, up there. And in the fog, you can see the funnels behind the ship. That's where the fog horns were. And in the fog, you've got the ship's horns blasting every 3 minutes. And you can see where I am there. You can imagine how loud that was. Not only that, if you're getting into quite rough weather and you're up there and the ship is rolling around a bit, half the time you've got the sea underneath you, and then you've got the deck underneath you, then it rolls again, you've got the sea underneath you, then you've got the deck underneath you. It's quite a place to be up there. And the other thing is then, particularly going into New York up the Hudson River, and you're up there, the view is absolutely stupendous. You've got the best view of the whole ship up there. And you can see all the skyscrapers and things like that. And as you're coming up the Hudson, you've got the first thing that strikes you is after passing the what do you call the Statue of Liberty, you get the smell of coffee, which is the Maxwell House Coffee Factory is on the river there. It's a beautiful smell of coffee. And then sometimes you go up there and there's a lot of fog or cloud, and you're above all the cloud. And all you've got is the tops of the skyscrapers, and with the cloud below, nothing below, you can't see a thing, and the tops of the skyscrapers, magical sight, absolutely magical sight. And on that one of those particular occasions, I last heard that record, The House of the Rising Sun. Do you remember that? And that's where I first heard that record, up there in that little box, being lookout. The other part of the job there with the lookout, you had to spend 2 hours on the after end of the ship, and that was called the suicide watch. And you had to check that nobody had jumped off, so you could warn the ship to turn around and go and rescue them or whatever. But of course, it never did happen, and I used to spend most of my time there playing table tennis up against the wall. So that was that. And then how are we doing for time wise? Oh my God, I've got plenty of time. Yeah, and it's going a lot slower than I thought. Right, after that, then we went to, well, I haven't told you about the butcher on the Queen Elizabeth. He had quite a nice racket going, selling meat to the crew. And there was a point where he got investigated, and they went to one of his houses in New York. And the whole wall of one of the rooms in the house was a false wall, and behind it was a massive refrigerator full of meat that he was selling on the black. And we had a nasty storm on the Queen Elizabeth when the forward ladders were ripped off. That was quite exciting. Well, that was the just part of the both. Right, after that, then we went to 323 Dunedin Star, is it? That's it, Dunedin Star. That was the oldest ship in the fleet at the time I was on it, and we were going then from down to New Zealand and Australia. That was the main part of the route for that ship. And you can see that big funnel on it. That was the biggest funnel in the fleet as well, which we painted, or I painted. You can imagine painting that thing up there, way up off the deck. That was a hell of a ship. It was a party ship. And whenever it arrived in port in Australia or in New Zealand, Auckland, you get lots of people coming on board with cases of booze, and the parties used to go on for days and days and days. Incredible time on that ship. I don't know why it attracted so many people, but it certainly did. We had fantastic times on that ship. We did do a bit of work occasionally. In fact, the deck boy on that ship, he made a fortune out of all the empty bottles, because you could get money back on the bottles in those days down there, and he made a fortune. What else happened? Sheep on deck we took on that boat to Singapore. Yeah, and of course, no, that was another ship. That was in Singapore. Yeah. What else happened on there? Have you ever heard of phosphorus and seen phosphorus in the water? No? Well, it's the plankton in the water, and it tends to get illuminated at a certain point, and it glows like little fireflies in the water. Well, at one point in that ship, we were going up past the Philippines, and suddenly, it was in the night, about 10, 11 o'clock at night, and the whole sea was lit up with this phosphorus. And it's like a giant Catherine wheel, horizon to horizon, all the way around the ship, and we're like in the middle of this huge Catherine wheel of light, floating in this magical big pool of light. The most fantastic sight I've ever seen. Amazing sight. It's awful not getting any feedback, isn't it? I mean, nobody's saying ooh, ah, or whatever.
Ooh, ah.
Ooh, ah, thank you. Right, I'm getting some feedback. It's like you're talking to yourself all the time, you know what I mean? Right then, that was a very good trip anyway. What? The passenger ships? No, well, I'm not coming to that yet. No. Dunedin Star, we've done that. After that was the Tucurinca, isn't it? That is a banana boat or a reefer. And there we were going all the way up the American coast, up as far as Seattle, going to places like Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, picking up bananas. I was a year and a half on, no, how long? Yeah, I was a year and a half on that ship, going up and down the coast, going through the Panama Canal, frequently going through there. You can see all the derricks and things like that on the ship. What else can we say about that? Storm. I had the biggest storm ever on that ship, where we were in force 11, and we lost power on the engines. means that the ship then broached to. Instead of facing the waves, it was broadside to the waves. And the ship was then, of course, rolling really badly. And I hung onto the wheelhouse door to save myself. And next thing I know, my feet were actually off the deck. We rolled over so far that the wheelhouse door was above my head. That's how bad the roll was on that ship. We went down below and everything was flooded down below. All the accommodation was flooded. There was water everywhere. And the captain was in his cabin and all the furniture in his room had piled up on him while he was in bed. You could just see the captain's arm sticking out of the bed like that, with all the furniture piled up on top of him. Yeah, nobody injured. We all survived that, okay, but it was pretty hairy storm on that one. Yeah. And what else have we got on that ship? Bananas, bad storm. The captain of that ship, Teakwood, that I was the first trip as an officer on that ship. I was the third officer on that ship, so it was quite an experience for me to, after being on deck, where you're sharing cabins with other members of the crew, to go on that ship and suddenly I've got an oak paneled cabin. I've got a steward looking after all my needs, cleaning the cabin, bed, and all that sort of thing. And then eating in the in the saloon rather than downstairs with the crew. It was fantastic. I felt quite posh. I was on that ship for a year and a half. In fact, the funny thing is, Maria and I were just about met at that time when I joined that ship, and I was only supposed to be going for a few months, and it ended up I was away 19 months on it. She was still there when I came back, just about. Yeah, 52 years later, we're still talking about it. The captain on that ship was a hell of a nice chap, and he actually invited me with his wife to go to Raffles Hotel and have dinner in Singapore, that famous hotel in Singapore. We had dinner there. And he also invited me to his home when we finished with the ship, and I visited him in his home in Yorkshire. The second mate on that ship was a Polish gentleman who'd escaped from Siberia. And in escaping, he had to cross this big river, and his hair turned white when he got out the other side. And he still had white hair when I knew him, of course. But I don't know. Yeah, we went to a place called Nakhodka to unload cargo, and he was so terrified of getting arrested that he locked himself up in the cabin and wouldn't come out until the ship had left. He was absolutely terrified about getting caught again and going back into the camp. You need what? Oh yeah, we named our first son after him, Alexander. Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that. No, I'm getting prompting on my left-hand side, if you don't mind that. It's all right, isn't it? Right then, so after that, what do we got after that? Oh, Tucurinca. 6. That was the Teakwood, and now we got 6, 7. My God, enough going slow, innit? How am I going to keep going for the next blinking half an hour?
Don't worry, Julian. If it takes you 20 minutes to say your talk, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Right, well, the next ship is the Antrim.
Oh.
No, that's the Teakwood.
There you go then.
No, that's the Antrim. That's the Antrim. That was my last trip at sea. because I decided after that ship I didn't want any more. I wanted to be, you know, we were married then, and I didn't want to go to sea anymore. I'd rather be at home than going all around the world, you know. And the Antrim was quite a send-off for me, because we went to Calcutta. And in Calcutta, we had a bit of a problem. There's a bond store on the ship where they kept all the booze and stuff that had to be, you know, customized. And the stevedores had broken into the booze locker and helped themselves to the booze. So they got fighting drunk. Literally, they got fighting drunk. And it was our job to get them off the ship. Of course, they were resisting that, and they were coming at us with broken bottles and all sorts of things. The police came on board, got terrified, and went up to the cabin, and they locked themselves up in the captain's cabin. So it was left to us on deck to sort it out. So we had to arm ourselves with fire axes and hose pipes and get these people off the ship. Well, after about half an hour, and it was a really dangerous, horrible time, we managed to get them off the ship and onto the quayside. The police also got off the ship as well, and it got back so bad then we had to actually cut the mooring lines and take off. So we left the quay with derricks swinging, hatches open, totally unprepared for sea, and that's the way we had to leave. It was so bad. Yeah, but not only that, there's other good things happened on that ship. I was actually invited to a wedding, an Indian wedding, which, as you can imagine, was quite an affair. The way they do their weddings is quite something. So that was quite an experience. The other thing about Calcutta is the flies and the mosquitoes. On one occasion, I'd forgotten to screw down the porthole and I'd gone to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, all the deckhead had all these little red balls hanging up. Mosquitoes full of my blood. Hundreds of them all hanging up there on the top of the, you know, on the deckhead there, looking down at me, little balls of blood, my blood. And the other thing, you know, a little piece of wire, like a bit of electrical wire, I mean, imagine that, 2 inches thick, in flies. And the whole ship was covered in them, right through. Everything, every surface was covered in flies. So that was Calcutta. And of course, all the cows in the road and all the people sleeping in the road, and it was a pretty awful place to be, really bad. So that was a nice send-off to my trip at sea. What else have we got? Oh yeah, that's a good sight on that banana boat. The chief officer or the chief mate running to the ship, wait for me, only in his underpants. So that was a bit of a laugh. I mean, this talk is highly censored. I mean, the things that actually went on, I can't talk about on here. I think I'd be banned for life. But I mean, you know, there's certainly a lot of funny things did happen. There's a lot of nice things though at being at sea, because when you're doing on lookout, if you're on the fore end of the ship, that's where you've got to be on lookout. Even on those ships, you had to have a lookout, and you spend, you know, 2 hours in the night up there on the ship. You've got the sound of the engines muted in the background, just throbbing, and you've got that blanket of stars over you. A fantastic sight of the stars, because at sea there's no light to upset the view of the stars. And you've also got things like porpoise or dolphins swimming around the bow of the ship, and they're lit up in phosphorus as well. So you've got all these darting, fiery shadows going ahead of the ship. Really, you know, it's quite difficult to describe, but it's quite magic. There's so many things nice that happen at sea as well. I must admit, I did have, 14 years of quite something. And I did also go on local ships. There's about another 4 or 5 ships that aren't being shown here that I was on as well. And some of them were coasters going around the coast of the UK. And that was another ball game as well, because they were pretty old, tatty old ships. And we did run aground just out Swansea Bay at one point and broke the propeller. Yeah. But apart from that, that's about it, really. I could go on a bit more, but I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, you've got a photograph with about a modern ship, modern cargo.
Oh yeah, it's that's to show you how things have changed since my day. I mean, this is the typical ship of today, and it's just a massive boxes. It's a container ship, and that's the way cargoes are shipped these days. It's totally different. The other thing as well, of course, with the old cargo ships, you might be 3 or 4 weeks in the port. Whereas with them, they're sort of in and out within 24 hours, they're on to the next job. So it is a much more relaxed affair in my day than it is these days. Also in those days, the old days, you worked on deck and that was it. You didn't work anywhere else. But now you're expected to work down in the engine room as well as on deck. And that wouldn't have suited me at all. Wouldn't like to have done that. So I don't think that things have improved in that respect. I don't think I'd like to be back to sea now, the way things are. Totally different in my day.
You like sailing?
Yeah. Like what?
You still love the sea?
Oh, I still love the sea. I mean, I've done an awful lot of air with the sea since then. We've owned at least 3, 4, 5 boats. We've sailed all over the place. We've sailed from Swansea all the way down to Spain in one of my old boats, a 60-year-old wooden boat that we sailed all the way down to Spain. And there I had it on charter and in Mallorca, first of all. And then we moved from Mallorca to Alicante, a place called Campello. I did a bit of charter work there as well. Taking passengers out. We used to go out to see the fire displays in Alicante at midnight with a boat with 12 passengers on board. That was good fun. But that boat was 60 years old, made of wood. The engine was an old Lister diesel, 60 years old as well. But we made it all the way to Spain. With what?
Breakages.
Yeah, we did have the odd breakdown now and again. Yeah, I was nearly a week broken down on that island, Lundy Island. Broke down there for nearly a week. Then we managed to get to Padstow, and I was getting repairs down there. We were there about 4 weeks getting repairs done. And then when we left Padstow, the electricity failed. So we had no electricity at all. We didn't have radar. We had nothing, absolutely nothing at all. And we were navigating by the stars down and up the channel and using the lights, the shore lights to guide us. Yeah, and then we had to cross over the channel to go to France then. And we were in the company of about 10 cargo ships. We were right in the middle of them all, no lights on, nothing. We managed to get to our destination all right, at the end of the day. No, we've done a lot. I don't know. Anything else? I don't know.
If you want to finish, we can always do questions and answers if you like.
Yeah, go on. Ask me some questions. I'd love that.
If everybody unmutes yourselves, please.
Everybody's not that many people, is it?
Well,
Right.
they all have to do it themselves. If anyone would like to ask some questions, that'd be fantastic, I'm sure.
Right. Can I ask, on the modern cargo picture, why are the tugs spraying all the water for?
It might have been an inaugural voyage, like a celebratory thing. There's no other reason for that.
All right.
They're not washing it. It might be its maiden voyage or something like that, you know,
All right.
or its first visit to this particular port. It could be that.
Right, you are.
Have you ever been a passenger on the Queen Mary?
Was
Been a passenger on the Queen Mary.
what?
Have you been a passenger?
No, I've never been a passenger.
Oh,
No, I don't think have you ever been on a cruise ship? Anybody?
No.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the difference between cruise ships and cargo ships is it's a massive difference. On a cruise ship, you're on the water, looking down at the water. On a cargo ship, you're in the water and you're looking up at the water.
Oh.
So when there's a storm or anything like that on a cargo ship, you know you're in a storm. But on like something like the Queen Mary or any of these big cruise liners, they're sort of remote from all that. You're not sort of so much in touch with the elements. I mean, most of the time you're sort of either eating or drinking or whatever on these cruise ships. Hang on a sun, it's totally different to a cargo ship. And you're much closer to nature on a cargo ship. You see so much more than you do on a cruise liner. And of course, another thing with cruise liners, you might be in port for 4 hours or 6 hours. You've got to rush around and see everything as much as you can in that 4 or 6 hours. With a cargo ship, you could be in port for 6 weeks, loading or unloading. So you do get to see a lot more of the surrounding area, I mean, in Australia, I went so many different places in Australia. I went to Ballarat and I did scuba diving all around the Barrier Reef. I've scuba dived in the Samoas. I caught a hammerhead shark in Samoa, took it back to the ship, and the crew terrified. A hammerhead shark, they thought it was the devil, and they all got off the ship until I'd taken the fish off the ship. Back on the ship. We had a Somali crew on that ship.
Oh, God.
Yeah, fantastic.
Can I-
Of course, I've had a lot of time in Samoa. I had a great time there. The local chief gave me his house.
Oh,
He actually gave me his house. Yeah.
God.
And I said, thank you very much. And the next day it burnt down.
Clearly knew something you didn't.
Yeah. The annoying thing is I'd given him my hat. You know, my sailor's hat, the proper
Yeah.
officer's hat. I'd given him that
For the house.
for the house. Yeah.
On when you were talking about being in the watchtower, Julian, the mast, did you climb? Was there a ladder inside the mast, or did you have to
Yes.
climb up at the outside?
Yeah, the ladder was inside the mast, and it was 100 rungs up.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
quite a climb. And then when you get up there, there's just barely enough room to move. And you had a little tiny heater there to keep you warm as well. And of course, I did an awful lot of reading up there. I used to always took a book up there with me because nobody expected you to see a ship.
Right.
And they've got radar, they got all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's just a matter of law that they had to carry a lookout. But that was quite a promotion for me, that job, because when you're a watchkeeper, you get your own cabin.
right.
So I had my own cabin, whereas normally on the Queen Mary or the Queen Elizabeth, you might be in a cabin with 6 other people.
All right.
So there was me in my nice cabin all on my own. It was great. Really good. Yeah.
Julian, did you work for the same company with all the ships, or were they separately owned by different?
Yes. Yeah, they're all separately owned. In those days, you'd go to get a job, you'd go to the shipping federation and they'd allocate you a ship. And you could
Right.
say, okay, yes, I'll take that ship, or I won't take that ship.
All right.
So they offered me that, all the ships I've been on, they've been offered to me, and I've accepted them if I wanted to go on that particular ship or go to that particular place. But on the Teakwood, for example, that was a tramp ship, and you just did not know where you're going to go on that. I was told it would be only 3 months, but as I say, it ended up 19 months.
Oh,
But a lot of ships like that, you'd sign on, and it'd be Land's End for orders. So the ship would go to Land's End,
right.
moor off somewhere down in Land's End, and wait for orders for the next destination. So that's how it worked in those days. I don't know if it works the same way today.
Right. I don't know.
No.
One of the boats you were on.
Yeah.
This one.
That's the banana boat.
Oh, I
You can
thought
see fifes on the side there.
I
That's
thought
the
that was a
Teakwood.
banana boat,
That was my first trip as an officer. Yeah.
but that was a banana boat, wasn't it?
No, the Teakwood is a general cargo tramp ship.
That
That
explains
is actually a tramp ship. John I. Jacobs tramp ship.
So that explains why there were double-decker buses on the.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
Because there's 3 of them. There's one at the back and there's 2 down the side.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. Oh, you carry all sorts of things like that on deck. I've had lorries on deck. I've had sheep on deck. Quite
Right.
amazing. We took a load of sheep to Singapore.
Mm.
You know.
I mean, one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of these boats seem to have an awful lot of what I might call cabin space, and I just wondered as to whether or not you actually took occasionally fee-paying passengers.
Some of the ships do have accommodation for maybe four passengers, or maybe 6.
Right.
Some of the other ships, particularly the banana boats, they had what are called intermediates. They were intermediate ships. They carried cargo and a few passengers on a regular basis. But most of them would have 1 or 2 cabins for the odd guest or whatever.
Right.
But you've got at least 8 or 10 engineers. You've got 8 or 10 crew. You've got 6, 7 officers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of accommodation needed on a ship.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So do I
And
take
there's
it
the
then that
cook, and there's the stewards, and there's there's a lot of crew.
right? Do I take it then that the crew of on the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth, were they, I presume, sort of around the waterline area, were they? For their back?
Yeah, they were down in the bows of the ship.
Mm.
Yeah. Porto was closest to the water, but a lot of their accommodation would have been inboard anyway.
Right.
And down the whole center of the ship, there's a huge working alleyway. What they call
Did
a
you ever
working
go
alleyway.
to the Bay of Biscay?
Many times.
Is it what they say it is? I knew a friend of
Yeah.
mine who went there and
Because-
would never go again on a cruise ship. She
Oh,
reckoned that the waves are 40 foot high.
Oh yeah, that's easy. No,
Is
no
it?
problem at all. Yeah, it's quite normal. So you're
Oh,
going down.
Norman.
Normal.
Crikey, Moses.
Yeah.
She never went on a cruise ship again.
No, well, I don't blame her. I never liked the cruise ships anyway myself. We used to call them cattle boats.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
how true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you
people
ever
at the
been?
people
Did you
are at
ever
the
get to
trough
the
all the
Panama
time.
Canal?
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the Panama Canal?
Yes, I've many times through the Panama Canal, especially on these banana boats.
Is it?
Oh, yeah,
Is it
many
wide?
times.
Is
Sorry?
it wide?
No, it's only just wide enough for a ship to get through.
Good God.
Is that
Yeah.
the one with locks in it?
Yes, that's right. They got locks, and they've got these mules, what they call mules, that actually pull the ship along.
good God.
Oh, mules.
Yeah,
Goodness. Yeah.
they're not actually mules, but they call them mules.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
They're like little,
Like a winch, is it? Like a winch.
engine things,
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, I know what you mean
On
now.
rails that pull the ship along
Yeah.
and keep you off the sides of the lock, you know.
And I can't stand the sea. And yet my grandfather and all my relatives were seamen.
Were they?
Yes, he was
Oh,
a
blimey.
chief petty officer in the Navy for over 25 years.
Oh, crikey.
And I can't stand the sea.
Well, that's funny, isn't it? We're talking about the Bay of Biscay. I mean, it's quite, you know, you've got all the gales come in from the west,
Right.
and you know you can't go into them. You've got to carry on going down the coast, beam on, what they call beam on. So you've got all the waves hitting the side of the ship
Oh,
instead of going to the bow of the ship. So that makes the ship roll.
Is that why she was strapped into a bunk?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Oh, I couldn't
Yeah.
understand why they have to strap them in the bunks.
But the Bay of Biscay is famous for you know, pretty rough passage there.
Oh, right.
Quite famous for that.
Been quite a few shipwrecks there.
Oh yeah, there's been quite a few wrecks there. Yeah. Aye.
Julian, compared to the modern cargo ships, I noticed on the older ones, there's a lot of upright metal sort of things.
You're talking about the derricks.
Right,
They're called derricks,
right.
and they're used for loading and unloading the cargo.
All right.
They're like, you could say they're like little cranes, I suppose, really.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. But that's something, I mean, the modern ships haven't got that. They've got these boxes and they've got certain
Big cranes.
Does
things.
that do away with the dockers working on the ships then?
What?
Loading and that?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Does that mean that the dockers have lost their jobs because they don't do the unloading anymore?
Yes, absolutely. It's all automated now.
Ah, right.
Yeah, a ship
know
can
that.
come in and it's just automatic.
Good gosh.
Got all these cranes coming over, lifting the boxes off, and they know, you know, they're all programmed to lift certain boxes and put them in a certain place.
Good God.
You know, it's amazing.
Wow.
You can see that ship there, the photo of that ship there. They could probably unload all that in 24 hours,
24 hours.
Really?
and nobody would have touched a thing.
God.
Good grief.
I know, it's incredible. Yeah, it's changed so much.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And you can see where the bridge is up there, right at the very top. You can see that little bit of a thing sticking out.
Oh, yeah.
The bridge. That's where they steer the ship from up there.
Good God.
Yeah.
I think my grandfather must have had the same sort of job for you, because he was in a box on the mast and he fell 360 feet
Yeah.
and just got up and walked off.
Oh, he was lucky.
Get away with it, wasn't he?
Fantastic.
We have got the report still, you know, we did have the report of him doing this.
Oh my God. Look at that.
He was on the mast and he was on lookout.
Yeah. Oh.
Right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can go back to a proper gallery view.
Right.
Very interesting.
It was. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it might have been a bit different. You know, it's
No, it was good.
as I say, I'm not used to public speaking. I do tend to get a bit tongue-tied.
I thought you did very well, Julian. and
Yes,
You
yeah.
did. You did. You did.
We
Yeah.
can all give him a round of applause.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, well, I hope I haven't bored you too much.
Not in the slightest. I mean, clapping in the visual sense on Zoom is not the way clapping's done. Clapping's normally done this way.
Yeah,
Oh.
right.
Right.
Thank you. For,
And the reason for that is not everybody's got their mic on at the time.
right.
Oh, I
Right.
see.
Yeah.
I thought you would say, is there anybody deaf?
Well, there you are, then that's ideal.
Yeah.
But
Well, thank you very much for tuning in.
that's all right.
My pleasure.
Hope I haven't bored you too much.
Not in the slightest.
Oh, far from it.
I found
I
it
might
very
repeating
interesting.
myself. Yeah, that's right.
I found it very interesting, and it was wonderful to have you joining us this afternoon. So thank you, Julian. I know that speaking is not everybody's cup of tea, but
Yeah.
to be honest with you, it was very good. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay, thank you very much, and adios. Adios, amigos.
Yes.
Adios.
Adios.
muy bien, muy
Yeah,
bien.
muchas gracias.
On the 9th of June, we've got Margaret Davies, I hope, who'll be talking about on a subject with just a few words. And
All right.
then I think Mike Williams on the 23rd is doing Commanding Jail.
That'd be good.
Oh,
I can't, I think we go back to having face-to-face lectures
Yeah.
in July. I don't think it's in June, I think it's
That'd
in
be
July,
better.
but I can't glean anything from the latest newsletter, so you'll be getting that shortly for those of you who get it via email. And for those who have it by post, it will come by the normal lady or gentleman in red
Okay.
walking up your garden path.
Okay.
All
With
right.
short
All
song.
right then.
Yes.
So I bid you all adieu. Thank you all for coming.
okay.
You.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye now then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Can't see my hand. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, very good. Okay, we'll jack out then. Leave.
You right there, Roger?
We're leaving.
You're leaving.
Well,
What?
that was a smile and a song.
Okay there, Mike. Good.